Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Where's he going? Shame on you! Shame on you! Get back! You guys are... Hey! Shame on you! Fucking bitch! What is this, guys? Shame on you! Stop it! Get it off me! Please look at what they've started now. You're a hero, Adam. I love you guys. Move back. Small business.
That day, I didn't really want all the attention, the publicity. I just wanted to open my restaurant. Well, I guess I did want some attention to the cause. To look, businesses, this is what we have to do. This is the solution to the problem that we're all facing right now. Is just open our stores. You see, if we had all just kept doing the same thing, as society changed, we could have made a lot bigger of a difference, I think, if more businesses had opened up that day. But so many people are just floating down the stream like something on, something floating on the top and not digging in and fighting for anything. They're letting the world change around them.
Adam Skelly is an entrepreneur and restaurant owner who gained notoriety, and not just for his food this time, when he refused to close his business against government orders, resulting in his arrest on a national stage. Adam Skelly joins me today on Andrew Says, which is sponsored by Elevate Farms. Elevate Farms is a technology and IP-based indoor farm that produces traditional farm-grown equivalent products at wholesale market price with a global footprint. Go to elevate.farm for more information. Adam Skelly, thanks for joining us in studio today. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thanks so much for having me on the show, Andrew.
We've seen you so much in so many videos all across the country now. I look back to the day when I was at your restaurant when the horse and all the King's, David Menzies really burns into my brain, all the King's horses and all the King's men showed up at your restaurant and you got arrested. For those of the people who haven't heard you talk about it, what was going through your mind when they were putting the handcuffs on you just for opening your business?
Oh, I knew that was going down that day. That morning, Andrew, I told my wife, when I saw online that they changed the locks on the building, I said, "Hun, you going to be okay by yourself tonight with the kids? I don't think I'm coming home." She's like, "Oh, all right, fine." I knew what I was getting into. When I stood at that back wall of my restaurant in between the two units, and there was a police on the other side holding a taser up like this and saying, "If you walk through here, I'm going to tase you and arrest you." And I went, you know what, I kind of bitched out and I said, "Put the taser away." He holstered it, I walked through and I got arrested. I knew what I was getting myself into that day.
Now there's one famous clip I think that made rounds, millions of views probably, where you're in cuffs, you look at the camera, you wink at the camera, and you're saying something.
Shame on these police. Look at what they've started now. You're a hero, Adam. I love you guys.
You want to remind people what was going through your head at that moment and what you wanted to tell the people that were viewing like this ridiculous scenario?
Oh, I said, I love you guys.
Yeah.
Because the support that I felt that day was incredible. There was hundreds of Patriots showed up 3 days in a row for that rally slash barbecue cookout in Etobicoke. So I was just so honored and blessed to have all those people standing there in support. I didn't know how many people would show up. I didn't organize any of that in advance. I posted one Instagram on the Monday night, a post saying I'm opening up tomorrow, and I just said, okay, now we're going to see how this plays out. So I was just honestly just blessed to have that much support through the whole thing. So many like-minded people to be surrounded with. It's just incredible. It was one of the best days of my life.
Now, when I was interviewing people there that day, there was a lot of people from the former Soviet Union, former Yugoslavia, saying that this is how it all starts. This is what governments start to do when they don't want independent business owners to be able to flourish and they want everything to be controlled by the government. What type of predictions could you have made, or could you have made any? Did you see where this was going? We're almost a year and a half later. Could you have predicted what has happened up till now? Because still, as we record this, there's still not restaurant indoor dining available.
Yeah, I knew that this was all coming probably before it even landed here in Ontario. I think it was January or February of 2020. I was tuned in to some information from some friends and outside media sources that were sharing some counter narrative. And this was all the talk right at the beginning of COVID, the vaccines, the certificate of vaccination. And then the next thing a lot of people talk about is some kind of technology that will be injected or paired with us to hold that vaccination record, and that this pandemic will be the thing to usher that in. So we haven't seen that play out quite yet. We also had the leaked Liberal insider email. Who knows? It's got no good source. Who knows where it came from? But it laid out the roadmap of everything to come. And I never took that as like prophecy or that I knew it was going to happen, but it was very interesting watching everything play out, and step by step everything on that list was coming to fruition. So, you know, I knew back in November that this wasn't going to be the end of this. It didn't look like there was going to be any change happening until the people stood up and said enough. The government's trampling all over our rights, and until we say, you know what, enough, I'm going to assert my rights and then fight for them in the courts or through whichever way that each of us can do as an individual, I don't think there's going to be any change.
Now, since you're the guy who stood up and made a whole this public spectacle came sort of around you, what made you want to be, did you want to be that guy? What made you want to speak out and just open your doors? It seems like such a simple thing. All you did was open your restaurant doors so you could feed people, pay your employees, and feed your family. Did it seem that crazy at the time? What made you want to do it?
Well, I don't like the limelight, man. I get nervous coming in here. Like, I don't like doing this stuff. I feel like I have to. It's in my heart. So that day, I didn't really want all the attention, the publicity. I just want to open my restaurant. Well, I guess I did want some attention to the cause. To look, businesses, this is what we have to do. This is the solution to the problem that we're all facing right now. Is just open our stores. You see, if we had all just kept doing the same thing, as society changed, we could have made a lot bigger of a difference, I think, if more businesses had opened up that day. But so many people are just floating down the stream like something on, you know, something floating on the top and not digging in and fighting for anything. They're letting the world change around them with no real evidence or justification for it besides, oh, this is what the collective thinks. And we all know the collective is massively influenced by the media. So basically whatever the media puts out is what everybody's going to think. And I tried to, you know, just put my foot down, stake my claim right there and say, you know, enough, we got to try something different.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Now, you talk about the other businesses. There's been attempts at having businesses open en masse all across the country. They haven't worked. There's been multiple times. I was the first person to criticize both the people who tried to set it up and the people for not opening. Why do you think so many restaurants will not just open? I mean, to try to put it more as an emotional thing, I guess, I don't understand, and this is something that you didn't do, I don't understand how you can just accept being closed for this long when your life probably depends on it, your income depends on it. Why have people not opened up by now?
Well, number one, people are pussies. Can I say that?
Sure, you can.
Look, I met with, and I'm calling them out right now, I met with 5 guys who all owned restaurants a couple weeks before I reopened mine. And we're like, we're doing it together. We're all going to stand up on this day. This was back before the second wave, like in October. Second wave.
You want to name any names?
No, I'll leave it at that. But if you guys are watching,
everyone.
you know, wait, which camera do I look at?
Right there.
You know who you are, the 5 of you who met in my restaurant. I'm not going to name you. You guys are pussies. And they all, oh, and there's one guy who's like a controversial restaurant guy too, and he wouldn't even get involved. But anyway, I won't name any names. We all talked about it. We said that we were going to open when that particular region went back into the red zone, and then none of them did. So I said, you know what, I'll do it on my own, because it's not about whether everybody does it. It's about me as a person and each person as an individual, you know, speaking their truth and living their convictions and not living a lie. There's also a thing that makes it really easy for everybody to comply with this is the government. So they pay 75% of your wages if you've taken a big sales cut, right? So some people think, well, I don't want to risk that. All this attention I'm going to get and the fines and all of this, and oh, my wife would be really mad at me if I did it. They've got the checks rolling in. I still got them going in. That's how my business is still operating. I think that's the majority of restaurants, unless you're doing pizza. That's a good business. The pizza guys are still making money. But a lot of restaurants are taking the 75% of the wages, 75% of the rent is paid. You can basically do no business and still keep your paycheck. So there's some good incentive provided by the government to not speak up. But that's why we're $1 trillion in debt this year. I think they said, what now, $690 billion has been spent on the pandemic. So you're contributing to your own demise. You're contributing to the demise of the whole country by complying and taking that money. What do you think is going to happen when you print $1 trillion? Like, what's going to happen to our currency? How long is it going to take? I don't know, 6 months, a year, 2 years, but it's not looking good.
Now, when you mentioned the replacement for the wages, when that government money stops coming in, and if you're not doing anything, the clientele isn't there, because I'm sure you've heard this criticism. Why can't you just do takeout, Adam? Why can't you just have people? If people could just do takeout, then they would. I mean, I'm sure. I'm sure if people, like a pizza business, if you can do 95% of your business from takeout, why wouldn't you? You don't have to hire a hostess. You don't have to hire servers, less cooks, less people to work altogether. Now, if your business is going to go under without the government money, what's going to happen to these people when the government money dries up? Are they not just going to close anyways?
Well, some people think we'll get back to normal. What is normal going to look like when little children have been covering up their faces for the last year and a half, conditioned to believe that somebody else's breath may get them sick? What's going to happen? What's the normal going to be like when the 50, 60, 70-year-old customers who've really believed that this thing is going to get them, you think they're going to come back en masse to your restaurant? You think the government's going to say, we're opening tomorrow, and the collective is going to say, okay, we feel just fine? No, they've been burdened by fear for the last year and a half. They've been living in that place where they're scared of everybody and everything, sanitizing their hands everywhere they go. You can't touch this, elbow bumps. You think we're going to get back to normal? People's minds have been just raked over the coals through this. So I don't know, maybe they think, you know, there's some reality where this is all going to go back to normal. The government's going to flip a switch and it's going to be like 2019 again, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Have you had any thoughts or discussed with your family about just, you know, shutting down shop, taking any money you've made and moving somewhere else or doing something else?
Yeah, actually, I've already decided that. I've moved out to Alberta. I bought a farm out there. You know, at the beginning of this, I had 60 employees. Now I have about 6. This hasn't been, the pandemic wasn't good for business, and neither was this move that I pulled. But I knew that going into it. Like, that wasn't the majority of people thought that was a good idea at the time. I knew that. So I got a farm. I'm going to have some cattle and pigs and chicken. So instead of 60 liberal employees who are complaining about what I say on Twitter, I'm going to have 60 cows who are like, thank you, Adam, so much for breakfast today.
Now,
so I'm really looking forward to that.
I haven't heard about that. Your employees were complaining about you? In what sense?
Oh, well, in April 2020, I used some, I guess, socially inappropriate language describing some people who still believed in this nonsense, and they were really upset with me. And then when I reopened the restaurant, really upset with me. Oh, some of them thought I was really putting people's lives at risk and their own reputations at risk. Like somehow my political views were now rubbed off of them in the general public. So people would be like, you work at Adamson BBQ? Ooh, that's not good.
Was it the whole words or violence type of thing?
Yeah, pretty much. But I always said, hey, you can just go get a job at whatever other restaurant is hiring. It shouldn't be too hard for you, right?
Right, it shouldn't be too hard at this point in time. Now, millions upon millions of views across the world, social media following and everything. Has there been anyone who's reached out to you that really surprised you? Any big names we might want to brag about, or just anybody who you didn't expect to come out and support you?
Yeah. Brett Wilson from the Dragon's Den.
Really?
He reached out and he said, it was back in November, right after I opened the restaurant, he said, thank you so much for everything you do for small business, or something like that. Or I love the stand that you took. And then I didn't answer because my messages were inundated, and I didn't notice until months later when at that time I was banned from social media, and I saw the message. I went, whoa, is this like some super rich Dragon's Den TV star who's on side with this, who understands what's going on? That's awesome. I got one of my employees to write him a message here. Talk to Adam here. He sends me an email. I'm coming to Toronto. Let's go for lunch. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I'm going to expand my business maybe. Like I got an opportunity to pitch this guy and he loves what I'm doing. I get on the phone with him and he tells me, oh, you know, a guy comes into my gym claiming medical mask exemption. I'm like, get out of here. We don't want your type around here. And I'm like, really? You ban people who have a medical exemption? Like, you discriminating against people with medical issues? Like, I have one of those. I don't wear a mask where I go around because I have a medical mask exemption. And then the guy's talking about these people are whiners, these people are babies. And then now on his social media, like this Dragon's Den dude, lots of money. He's like putting out a thing. Oh, I'll give you $50 and a bottle of wine or I'll start a raffle if you get vaccinated. Comment here. And he's like a super big vaccine shill. So because I don't care about the money, really, like maybe we would have opened some businesses together and that'd be cool. But I couldn't work with a guy like that who's just shilling for pharma companies. So calling him out here. You know, the guy sucking and blowing at the same time, speaking out of both sides of his mouth, like, oh, I really commend you for what you did for small businesses, and then going around telling everybody, get this experimental gene therapy because they're only way out of this. Like, man, what a coward.
Something I've noticed throughout all this,
more like Dudley the Dragon.
Even you wrote that one, I think. Stole that from me. I write all my Dudley the Dragon jokes in advance. No. Something I've noticed about everything that's happened here over the last 18 months is the people who've become popular, like yourself, like the Chris guys, I'm sure there's more that I'm forgetting, that have just launched, and even if they weren't taken off social media like you were for a while and like Chris Guy has been, their star power would be even bigger. Have you noticed a swing in a lot of people in what they're willing to listen to and who they're willing to hold up as, you know, like a celebrity? Has it kind of leveled the playing field, whereas like you mentioned, if you're just shilling for something, and for those who may not know what that means you're going out of your way to promote something just for the money, you don't really believe in it. Does this level the playing field for media outlets and celebrities where people would normally listen to them, even doctors and nurses? People aren't trusting anything anymore. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think pretty much anybody who sticks their neck out, well, I guess I should actually start here. Like, I went to the rallies and I tried to talk to some of these guys. Like I talked to Chris, I talked to Vlad, Hugs Over Mass, and these guys are kind of like, yeah, whatever, because everybody approaches them. And it's like, to be associated with these people, you have to stick your neck out and do something courageous. And as soon as I did, I was just welcomed in with open arms by all these people. And it's not that they were trying to co-op on what I was doing. They were like, yes, there it is. It's not me, it's not the barbecue restaurant, it's courage. When they see that and recognize it, and you elevate yourself to that level, then you're in that playing field. And it doesn't matter who you are. It could be a guy like Chris Guy, who's, I don't really know what his background is, but he's gained a lot of notoriety in this because of simple things. Just say no. Showing people how to assert their rights. Like, that's so invaluable what he's done. Showing people, hey, here's how you walk in a store and claim medical exemption. Here's how you get on an airplane. You got to get the medical note. And he's just showing people, that's it. Going about his life just like he was before. And he does some speaking and media engagements and stuff like that, but really all he's done is live his life as normal and show everybody here's how you can continue to do it, because that's how you fight this. You just live like you were back in 2019. So whether it's
so long ago.
It feels like
yeah.
It feels like it's been an eternity of this new normal. So same thing, the pastors, the business owners, my friend Vlad, Hugs Over Mass, all these people have done is said, I got to do something, I got to take a stand here. So you don't have to be some type of spectacular person. You don't need to have 3 restaurants or be the pastor of a church. Anybody can get involved with this at your level. Like, what does that mean to you in your life? Is that you at your work, speaking your truth, talking to people, informing them, talking to management, starting a class action lawsuit, writing letters into the management? No, we're not all going to just, roll over and take this experimental gene therapy. Everybody has a role that they can play in this. It's just finding out what that is, and instead of, looking at everybody else for the answers, it's like, what can I personally do?
I agree. It's up to regular people and regular citizens to, make a stand. When it's gone this long, I ask people who are saying, oh, it's because of people like you who are perpetuating this. I say, how long is it going to take for you to speak out? People who are afraid to speak out because of their jobs or whatever, how long? 10 years, 5 years until it becomes not taboo enough to speak out about it? I don't know. I get a little bit frustrated, I'm sure you do, with some of those people. Yeah. I want to get to maybe some more fun stuff because it has somehow splashed onto me because, as you're aware, Rebel News had a Adamson BBQ t-shirt, and people would be saying all these conspiracies about Adam Skelly. Adam Skelly's a psyop. Adam Skelly's Illuminati.
Yeah,
and I was talking to a person one day, or I wasn't even talking to them. I had spoken to a person who's told me these things, and I was like, I don't think you realize it's not that complicated. But then it somehow splashed onto me when this same person started posting things that the Adam Skelly barbecue T-shirt is specifically uses specific letters that relates to numerology because these numbers add up and they mean this. And I was like, I was in the room when the T-shirt was thought about. There wasn't any Satanism going on. What was all that?
those devil statues that pass by.
Listen, we're remodeling. No, now people are going to clip that, you realize, and say, "What do you say anything to these people? Are there some more hilarious ones that you've heard?"
Oh yeah, like constantly, like at least a couple times a week, I get a message or something that's like someone all smugly high and mighty calling me some type of controlled opposition, like, oh, how was the Masonic Temple last night? It's so funny. There's one website where someone put actually a lot of effort and care into this, and they said, well, he's 33 years old, so, and that's, I think, I don't know much about the Masons, but I think there's 33 levels that are exposed. So because I'm 33, I must be also by nature, a 33-degree Freemason. And then it was, well, one day I was wearing a red checkered shirt, and the next day I was wearing a blue checkered shirt. So that's showing the polarity, and then the checkers are like the Mason tiles on the floor.
A lot of Canadians are guilty of this then, if they're wearing multiple checkered shirts.
I know, and it's like, maybe you should come to my house, because actually the simplest answer is I only have 3 shirts. And like, the one I'm wearing today is dirty from yesterday.
I'm more of a Scientology guy. You guys can say I'm OT3 in Scientology. It's crazy stuff. And even from the day you were arrested, people said the wink and the smile you gave to the camera when you said "I love you" was a message as well to the Illuminati and that stuff.
Oh, I was saying I love you to my reptilian handlers or something like that. That's fun.
That's what we're going for here, I think.
Yeah, now, can I get a little dark for a minute?
How dark?
Sometimes I wonder, maybe do those people have the right idea? Because who are we trying to save here? It feels like there's lots of people who are on side with us, but the rallies, it's all the same people. It's all the same faces for a year and a half. Other people aren't getting involved. A lot of people seem pretty brainwashed. Maybe like they don't have the cognitive ability to really see what's going on here. Maybe is that the right side to be on?
This is you're just taking liberties now, and people are going to make clips and be like, "See, I told you, he's giving you the hidden messages." Now, normally we'd have extra exclusive segments behind the paywall for you, but this time we're brought to you by Elevate.farm. They're a really cool vertical farming agriculture company that's sponsoring this episode so that you can watch it for free.
Can I throw something in there?
Sure.
Rebel News has been the only outlet that's covered my story, like consistently. Even a lot of the independent people, oh, they don't show up, oh, I'm busy, I'm working today, something like that. Whenever I send a message to Ezra or to David Menzies, they show up and they just cover, oh guys, I have something that is important to get out. They show up, they film, they're consistent. They don't get any government funding, as I made a joke about when I showed up to the office today, because I'm not going up to the 50th floor of CBC Insulted. And they take $1 billion a year. So you know what, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna sign up for Rebel, because I really appreciate what you guys do for everything in this movement. You're the only people covering it fairly.
You heard it here first, everybody, and go to Adamson BBQ's website and call them for the meat. Like, we could have pretended that the meat was good just for, to save face, but the meat is really just the best meat I've ever had in my life. And I say that about, one time, like 10 years ago, I had some great lobster ravioli that I'll never forget. I'll never forget the first time I ate. And it sounds so silly, but it's that good of meat. RebelNewsPlus.com, and I will send you free meat. No, I won't. Just go. All right, we're behind the paywall now, Adam. I want to talk to you about your charter challenge. Everybody wants to hear updates about it. They want to hear about what the battle is, how the battle is going right now. Can you give us a quick update about that? And then I want to touch on what you think is going to happen with the rest of the reopenings that we're supposed to be doing.
Sure. So this constitutional challenge is now like 7 months in the works. I've gone through 5 or 6 different lawyers before landing with this new team. I've got Michael Swinwood and his partner Liza Swale from Elders Without Borders. I've got Pradeep Chand from Chand and Snyder. And then I've got, above all, Chris Weisdorf. He is my friend and advisor on this legal challenge, and he's helped quarterback this whole thing. He's helped us get in touch with 6 experts. We have the province absolutely surrounded on this challenge. So the JCCF and some other firms have run some smaller, less broad legal challenges across the country. And they always get pinned on some piece of evidence. So they'll go in and say, they'll bring in an expert and they'll say the PCR test is a fraud. But then the Crown will bring an expert who says, aha, but the variants of concern are super duper deadly. And then they lose because the judge says, well, do you have a reply to this? And they say, no, we don't. We don't have an expert to talk about this. Well, this lockdown measure has been deemed demonstrably justified. So Chris has been paying attention to all of these challenges as they unfold around the country and the world. And we have got them pegged. We're talking about PCR, asymptomatic transmission, variants of concern, the lack of cost-benefit analysis that's been provided by the government, how asymptomatic transmission doesn't actually occur. Like, they're so surrounded with evidence that what they've had to resort to is talking about procedural bullshit. So one of their main arguments is my affidavit should be thrown out because I wouldn't answer any questions at my cross-examination. So that gives them some rule, according to Rule 69.420 or whatever it is, that you have to answer these questions. They called me for my cross-examination and didn't ask me a single question on my affidavit. They're asking me, well, how much profit do you make on your hoodies on your online store, Adam? Oh, here's an Instagram post of you. What do you think about what you said? You don't think COVID's real? I'm saying these lockdown measures are not demonstrably justified, and here's 6 experts to back that up, and they're saying, how much profit do you make off a t-shirt? It's bullshit. They have no leg to stand on. They're absolutely surrounded. And this challenge, the hearing is on Monday and Tuesday, the 28th and 29th. I have the link to the Zoom call on my Instagram page. It's like the link in bio. You can catch it there. Or I'm sure a lot of other people will be hosting this information. We got to get as many people as we can watching this challenge, because the judge and the whole system needs to know that we're watching. They can't just call one expert to our 6 and then rule on some procedural issue when hundreds of thousands or millions of people are watching this, because we demand justice. We demand that these lockdowns end immediately. And the more people that are tuned into that and watching, the better.
Now, if I'm playing devil's advocate and I want to say Adam Skelly isn't going to win this, I would probably go down the route of the government's going to push this along until they're reopened, and they're going to drop it. And then what happens then? Is that scenario possible? If we just say Doug Ford says, we're opening up 2 weeks ahead of time because we've already hit the markers with Doug Ford that he set forth. So fun stuff there. But if somebody says that and then the government opens up and they're just like, oh, we don't need to be involved in this at all. You win. And that way they save face. Is that a possibility where the government, sneaks out the back door like that without admitting fault?
I don't think they can do that. They've pushed this Reopening Ontario Act all the way until the end of the year, and that's what we're fighting. It's a direct attack against the evidence supporting the Reopening Ontario Act and its validity or justification. So they can't do that. The hearing's in a couple days. This judge, Justice Akbar Ali, funny story actually, this challenge has been filed in response to a court order that they gave to me. So after I got out of jail, they wanted another way to ensure I wouldn't open any of my restaurants again. So they issued a court order. And it was a judge named Justice Kimmel. And she wrote that order. We said, this is actually a positive, because we can file the constitutional challenge in response to this court order, giving us an in into the courts. Because there's some other famous constitutional lawyers around the country who have filed constitutional challenges, but they haven't had any of their cases heard yet. We have an in. So they have to hear it. So where am I going with this? Basically, they have to hear it. We got great scheduling because of this, because I already had a court order, and they have to hear it. Or else I don't even think they can drop the whole thing, because the hearing's in, 4 days, something like that? Yeah, it's going through.
Now, last question, I think. I don't know how much of a political guy you were before all of this, but how much faith do you think the average person or the average business person such as yourself has left in the system, has left in our elected officials? To me, I'll go ahead right away and say I don't trust 99% of them. Even the ones that I thought I could trust, they stood back and they said, hey, if the Liberals want to do this and they want to ruin people's lives, then let them, we'll look better. And then it got to a point where not saying anything became something that you can criticize them for, in my eyes. Do you want to mention any names because people will listen to you? Do you want to mention any names of any politicians you like? Have you lost faith in all the parties? Is another question I want to ask you.
Well, yeah, I could never vote for the Liberals, the Conservative Party, the NDP. They're all in bed together. The Bloc seems to be in this big voting, like the Bloc Québécois is in the same voting bloc. They're going to pass this Bill C-10. There's hardly any opposition. It seems like they're all running on the exact same platform. You got the leader of the Conservative Party talking about happy transgender day and stuff
Stop
like that.
being biphobic, okay? That's what Aaron O'Toole doesn't want you guys to be biphobic.
What values are they conserving as the Conservatives?
Michelle Rempel wants you to, realize your whiteness, Adam. So yeah, I'm right there with you. That I don't have much faith left in, it's not even a uniparty like it is in the U.S. It's a quadra party.
Yeah.
Green Party, please save us. Go back to being the Green Party of like the 90s, where you're just like, the environment. But now it's basically the NDP.
What about the PPC, Maxime Bernier? He's taking a stand. He's the only guy vocally anti-lockdown.
I wish Maxime Bernier had a seat. It would give him more power. My advice for people, and this is the first time I'm saying this for an upcoming election, would be don't vote for any of the major parties. Don't vote for NDP, CPC, Liberal, Green Party, Bloc. I mean, French people, I'm French. They're going to vote for the Bloc anyways. It's just their protest. But don't vote for any of those major parties. Vote off the board. Vote a Christian party if you want. Vote anything other than these parties, because they're never going to hear these messages. And I know the whole country isn't going to vote off the board, but if enough people take a huge chunk out of them where they have to start to worry and they need to start listening to people, that would be my advice, is to put the fear in them that they're not going to get these guaranteed votes that they usually get.
Yep.
Is there anything else you want to say to the people before we let you go?
Just please, if you can, tune into that constitutional challenge. That's June 28th and 29th, starting at 10 a.m. On my Instagram page at Adamson BBQ, we have one post made up for each of those 6 experts. So maybe you're on the fence about sharing the stuff. You don't want to upset grandma or your auntie who thinks that you kill elderly people in long-term care centers by breathing. So I've got these experts made into each of their own posts. So if you can share those, you're supported by science. Like, not the science with the $ for the yes, but the actual science by the brave and courageous doctors who are speaking up at no cost, risking losing their licenses to support this challenge. So let's get the word out about it. Let's get millions and millions of eyes watching this case, understanding the science behind it, knowing that it all stems from this bogus PCR test with the cycle thresholds above, when they say 32, I think. Anything above that, it's going to be totally bogus. The fact that asymptomatic transmission is a total lie, and yet we're all walking around perpetuating this thing by wearing our muzzles every day. So, yeah, live like you were in 2019. Support this challenge. Tell your friends. Thank you.
Double mask, goggles, gloves. That's
Face
what I'm
shield.
all about. Face shield, I almost forgot about that one. Adam Skelly, go to the Adamson BBQ website, order some delicious food. Go to Rebel, you're already on Rebel News Plus. Go to the Rebel News store. Thanks for watching, you guys. It was a great time to have you here.
Pleasure.
We should have elbow bumped, damn it.
Oh.
You know. All right. Thanks for watching again, guys. Go to the store, go to his website, share his stuff. Even if you don't agree, just watch the things that he's doing. You can take sides. You can learn about what the government's saying, what the other people are saying. I think that's what most people want people to do, is to pay attention and look at the actual science, look at the actual data that comes out. Nobody's asking you to, run for office. I'm just asking you to pay attention and make informed decisions. We'll catch you next time. Great to have you again, Adam. Thanks. Thanks for watching another episode of Andrew Says. If you want exclusive content, go to rebelnewsplus.com, where we talk about topics we're not allowed to show you on social media. Danger.